Dokken, dude. Dokken's into the fire. Everything about this is not cheesy vintage 80s. It's like you are in the 80s. And like this time, like, what's old is new again. And it's just the wrestling matches, like the opening match had a 10-minute time limit. That is classic, NWA World Championship Wrestling Saturday nights at 6:05 kind of deal. I mean, everything they've done so far, and they've established, Nick Aldis, when you watch that show, he is presented as a legitimate champion, a legitimate wrestler. They use the term professional wrestling. I love what they're doing with Nick Aldis and Camille. Man, I can't get enough of it Tuesdays at 6:05. I'll tell you that much. And I'm really looking forward to the pay-per-view. But it's cool because each week, there's another layer. They're building more talent. Like the first week, Eddie Kingston Homicide came out. The second week, you had Cabana and Ken Anderson. Love Ken Anderson, but, maybe do some more cardio. I'm just saying, he could benefit from maybe a stair climber, huh? Am I fat shaming? Is that a thing?
No comment.
Okay. Fine. No comment. But like next week, there's going to be somebody else they're going to introduce. And it's just, they didn't throw everything all at once. Like, right? They didn't try to fit their entire promotion into a 1-hour episode. So you tune in each week and you learn more and more about the promotion. I think that, kind of slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah. And I think that's the right format to take, right? You want to, we've talked about wrestlers or certain acts getting overexposed, specifically when we talk about WWE, because they show up on television every single week and they're wrestling almost every single week. Well, when you have a show that's only an hour long, right, you don't need to do that. And if you space it out enough where, guys' appearances in the ring are made special, they're not wrestling, they're wrestling maybe once a month, or appearing in front of the live crowd less frequently, their reactions are better, I think, and people want to see them more. So I think that's kind of the key. If you're only putting an hour show, you can kind of space it out, just, have maybe some small promos here and there, and then guys wrestle every couple of weeks, you introduce new acts. It helps out a lot to keep things fresh.
Yeah, and I think the people that Magnus clearly wasn't in studio this week, but they had a tape segment of him. Or, they did a throwback to the week before. So you're not... You okay, bro?
I'm sorry, did you say Magnus? Is that what that was?
No. I said Naldis.
Oh, okay. Must have been my
you know what? I think
headphones.
You know what it is? My Bluetooth.
The Bluetooth?
My blue. Yes, but no. Yeah, no. I did Naldis. Like NXT is a good example. That's when NXT was 1 hour. Yes, they wouldn't have the same guys on every week, but they would beat you over the head with segments, and they would show you every week. You would see everything that happened the week before in NXT, and that wasn't completely necessary. So I think the way NWA did it is they kept it fresh. They may have given you a couple of seconds here or there. I want to see some more Austin Idol. How can I see more Austin Idol, Joe?
You might have to apply for that wrestling school, bro.
I'll go to Austin Idol's wrestling school. No problem, gladly. The other thing, how do you feel like the commentary is as far as calling it? Do you notice a difference between that and, I don't know, even AEW, NXT, or WWE?
I think their commentary is pretty polished from, what I can tell. I didn't know too much about Joe Galli until, other than his experience with the NWA. But, I think they do a fine job, calling the matches. The matches, with the exception of the Aldis and Tim Storm match on the first episode, haven't been very long either, right? They've all been maybe 6 or 7 minutes or less. So I think it keeps things moving. They promote the right guys. They talk about maybe the upcoming pay-per-view or a taping. So I think they're doing all the right things. And the two-man booth as well. I'm always a big fan of the two-man commentary team over the three-man commentary team.
Agreed.
So I think they do a solid job comparative to some of the other shows that we watch.
Yeah, and they don't have long matches, like you said, just for the sake of long matches. If you can get your point across in 6 or 7 minutes, that's fine. And I think they even told a really good story with Tim Storm. 50-something-year-old, I think it was a high school principal, something along those terms, and how much the 10 pounds of gold meant to him. And I thought he had a beyond fine match with Nick Aldis, for a guy that age. Can we see him wrestle Bloodline Blue Justice and Suzuki and Liger. Could we get like a Legends? Like I remember Impact or TNA tried to do that for a while, but if we can get like a Legends, how do we do like without the Undertaker? I just want Tim Storm, Jushin Thunder Liger, Suzuki, and Blue Justice. That's all I want to see.
All right.
And all those guys, tell me Tim Storm can't work. Wasn't that a good match?
Yeah, no, I thought it was a very good match, and the story behind it and the emotional investment, right, that they tried to get the fans to go along with in terms of Storm, had he lost the match, which he ended up doing, not being able to challenge for the NWA title anymore after that, especially at his age, potentially marking the end of a main event run for him. So, I mean, yeah, I think that all added to it. The promo he cut before the match, so it does you put that kind of background and the stakes, and I think it enhances the quality of the match as it's going along.
How much more? First episode of NWA Powerrr. How much more did you care about the outcome of Tim Storm versus Nick Aldis than any match on Raw or SmackDown last week?
Well, yeah, because it has the stakes, right? It has if he lost, then to him, and he came off as very how important the title was to him. So the fact that him losing would really kind of impact him a lot, and then Aldis, of course, not wanting to lose the title. I thought the match they had was very good. They told a good story. Aldis was very good, I thought, with his selling. After the match, he put Storm over, and then kind of went back to being a little bit heelish after that with all the Camille stuff, which is another kind of angle that they're running. So, yeah, I mean, I was invested in it because of the story and the job that those guys did, putting it together.
How hard is that to do? Nobody who watched, for the first time you watch NWA for the first time, nobody really knew who Tim Storm was. By the end of the show, I am screaming for him. I'd like to kick out of the cradle. And when he low blowed Nick Aldis, I was all for it. I'm like, I know why he's doing it. Like, I feel for him. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there on Raw and SmackDown. I'm like, yep. Even if it's for a title, it doesn't mean anything. But, and to AEW's credit, AEW so far has done a great job of the wins and losses because, again, they feel like they matter. NWA is following the same suit, and they're calling it on commentary like a sport, like professional wrestling. And I think that's a touch that we've been missing. So I know I'll be checking in, every week at 6:05, baby, Tuesday on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, type in NWA Powerrr. It comes up, subscribe, set an alert for yourself so it reminds you every Tuesday, and then it's free on right up after that. So if you're a fan of professional wrestling in the olden days, you're a fan of the NWA, the Jim Crockett era, then NWA Powerrr is going to be for you. So watch that. And what else have you been watching, man? You been keeping up with the NXT and the AEW?
Yes, I've been trying my best to keep up with both. Although I will say that when the shows air live on Wednesdays, I primarily stick with AEW and then watch NXT on DVR or on the network. I'm not sure if that's because that's what I'm used to with NXT, or if it's just because I feel like AEW is the more entertaining show to watch, or some combination of both. But that's kind of what I've been doing. What's been your lean so far in terms of the two shows? Have you been preferring one over the other?
This week I fell asleep early, Joe. Not going to lie to you. But for week one, actually this is week 3, right?
Yeah, this past week was the third week. Yeah.
Week 1, I watched them both in a hotel room as I streamed on our Instagram. Week 2, I watched AEW Live. And week 3, I attempted to watch AEW Live but fell asleep. Not for the fault of the show, because of the fault of my senility. However, I also think AEW is it's an easier show to sit through. There's less throwback clips. It keeps my attention in 2019. That's very difficult, but it keeps my attention for the entire 2 hours, and the 2 hours really does fly by. The matches are well laid out, I think. The timing is really good. The spacing of the segments, like everything they've done, they've made it a very easy watch for me for 2 hours. And whereas NXT, it's not that it's not, But I think believe it or not, I might attribute some of that to Full Sail Arena. Like, it's kind of the same look, the same thing week after week. Like, you and I have been saying for how long they have to change up the Raw. You could change up the Titantron and all that stuff as much as you want, but I think it's the colors. The red and the black, like, it just, no matter what, it looks the same, and it's the same kind of feel. Whereas we might get there with NWA. Like, after a while, you might be like, oh, okay, it's the same thing. But because it's such a different presentation, you know, like I said, what's old is new again. It feels fresh. Whereas Raw, it's been the same black and red for, you know, who knows how long. So, but yeah, I don't know if it's Full Sail Arena, but it just doesn't feel as not important, but it doesn't feel like as vital. Like, I have to watch it right then and there. Whereas AEW, I feel like, oh man, I really have to watch this live because I don't want to be spoiled about anything.
Yeah, I agree with you for sure on that. For whatever reason, I don't know if it's because maybe NXT is adjusting to the 2-hour format, or you know, whatever it might be. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, I think that happened a little bit with, you know, TNA when they had they were in the Impact Zone for a while. When they first were there, it was new. The crowd was crazy into things, right? They were putting on great matches, and then, I mean, for a variety of reasons over the years, but I think that crowd probably got a little bit stale. They were seeing the same thing over and over. You know, the booking got a little bit worse. You know, they brought in different acts people did not want to see, and then all of a sudden you're watching Impact and you have to, like, you're hearing piped in crowd heat because you know, the crowd's not reacting to things, and you know, and obviously they had their issues with trying to go out on the road and stuff. So it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see if the novelty wears off with some of these things. With NXT, maybe that's what we're seeing a little bit in terms of the Full Sail crowd. You know, you hope with NWA, since it's new, it'll stay hot for a while. Maybe they'll get new fans in there each week for 1-hour shows or the tapings or whatever they might be. But you know, you got that. I mean, that's definitely part of it, right? The presentation. AEW's gone to these you know, larger size arenas right away. They're going to different cities and they're still getting hot crowds. So.
That's true, city to city. And not for nothing, on the presentation, Tony Schiavone, baby. He is great on commentary. I mean, I also, like you, I don't like the three-man booth. But I think Schiavone, JR, and Excalibur, like, they don't step on each other's toes. Nobody dominates the broadcast, and they all know when to interject themselves. Very similar to Beth Phoenix.
I sense a little sarcasm.
Incredibly similar to Beth Phoenix. I mean, she's right up there. Wouldn't you agree? I think Renee Young is to Beth Phoenix what Michael Jordan is to Vlade Divac.
I don't want to be negative today. It's Sunday. You know what I mean? But I understand. I'm just gonna, you know, I'm gonna lay out.
You don't have to lay out. Well, why would you lay out? Okay, all right. If you don't want to be negative today, how do you feel about the commentary team then?
For which episode? For AEW?
Yeah. Who cares about the rest of them? Just kidding.
Wow. No, I like those guys. I do. I mean, I think Tony Schiavone has been really good. Excalibur, I've always liked. I think he brings a lot of knowledge on the current wrestlers.
Yeah.
To the broadcast team. You know, and JR is a legend. I mean, obviously he has his moments where
hiccups.
Where he might have. It's a good way of putting it, right? But other than that, I do think they're a very good team. They know how to get. I think part of the commentary, right, is getting over the wrestlers and the storylines. So if you're able to do that and not beat people over the head with it to the point where it's annoying, a la Michael Cole and Corey Graves, then I think they're doing a good job. So I like those guys a lot on commentary. I think they're doing a very nice job so far.
And to your point about JR, I think this week he had his best week on commentary. And you know what? He's not trying to be that guy, but he is considerably older, really, than everybody else. But it's all about gelling, you know. And he hasn't called weekly wrestling in how long? So everybody was on him about the New Japan stuff. Listen, was it great? No. But you've got a late 60-year-old dude from Oklahoma trying to pronounce half of the New Japan roster. That's got to be difficult as it is. Listen, give the guy a break. He's not the main focus on commentary. I mean, he's kind of steering the ship, but you have two other guys in Excalibur, and Excalibur's knowledge has been it's such a welcome addition. And you could tell Shivani's done his homework too. For all intents and purposes, Shivani's been really good on commentary. I enjoyed him on MLW too, so it's great to see him back in. And I don't know, man, it's just really it's a real good time to be a wrestling fan. Joe, I'm looking at the clock here. I'm wondering if you have a Shooting with the Stallion topic this week. Is there anything you got that really I know you said you're trying to be positive, but I want to see anything really rustling your feathers.
I listen. I can't really say enough about